Due to COVID-19 concerns, this meeting is being held virtually. Information on how to participate in the virtual meeting has been posted on the Planning Commission webpage at www.boco.org/PC. There will be opportunity to remotely provide public comment on the dockets listed on the agenda during the respective virtual public hearing portions for each item. I'll provide instructions about that when we get to each docket on the agenda. Okay, so we'll start out with roll call. I'll say your name and just respond with I. Mark Bloomfield here. Sam Fitch.
Here.
Ann Goldfarb.
Here.
Gavin McMillan.
Here.
David Shu.
Here.
Todd Quigley.
Here.
Melanie Niski.
Here.
Leishan Gargano.
Here.
All right. Just a reminder, please identify yourself before speaking and speak slowly and clearly. All votes will be roll call votes. Please keep your video on when possible during the hearing, and please remain on mute until you are ready to speak. When you begin speaking, please identify yourself as a planning commissioner, such as this is Planning Commissioner Mark Bloomfield. It may help to keep your participant list open in the Zoom so that you can see who is speaking. The person who is speaking will be bolded. All right, first item on the agenda is the minutes. Are there any corrections to the minutes from last month's meeting?
You sound a little underwater.
I do?
Oh, that was better. Sorry.
I think I may have had my hand over the microphone. Any changes to the minutes of the meeting? Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion to accept?
This is Commissioner Goldfarb. I move to accept the minutes.
This is Commissioner Gargano. I'll second.
Go ahead and do a roll call. Mark Bloomfield, aye. Sam Fitch.
Aye.
Ann Goldfarb.
Aye.
Gavin McMillan.
Aye.
David Shu.
Aye.
Todd Quigley.
Aye.
Melanie Niski.
Aye.
And Leishan Gargano.
Aye.
All right, passes unanimously. Does the staff have any updates for us?
Hello, Commissioner Bloomfield. This is Kim Sanchez from Community Planning and Permitting. I'd like to introduce Elisa Childress on our staff. She's on our long range planning team, and she's going to be giving you just a brief update of a graphic that she put together that summarizes the dockets that Planning Commission saw over the past couple of years, and then how the Board of County Commissioners acted upon your recommendation. So I know this was some information that you had requested a while back. We tried to put that together for you. Elisa's done a really amazing job of putting that together in a really cool storytelling graphic. So I will present her now in order to show you that information, and then we're happy to provide the raw data if you would like it as well. So go ahead, Elisa. Thank you.
Thanks, Kim. I'm going to share my screen, so it'll be just a moment. Okay. I'm Elisa Childress. I'm a long-range planner, like Kim said, and I'm just going to jump in on this data. So this data is for calendar years 2020 and 2021. And over the course of these 2 calendar years, the Planning Commission saw 42 dockets. So if you want to see the breakdown of the types of these dockets, you can look in the gray box. So of these 42 dockets, 40 were approved, and this might mean conditionally approved or just approved. 1 was tabled, and that was the Hartselle vacation rental. 1 was denied, and that was the Boulder Rifle Club special use application. So 9 of these 42 dockets stopped at the Planning Commission, and that was for a couple different reasons. 5 were location and extent reviews, and the BOCC is not the final approval authority for those, so there was no reason for them to move on. Similarly, 2 were Boulder County Comprehensive Plan updates, and again, the board is not the final approval authority for those. One was tabled, and that was the Hartselle vacation rental. And one has been scheduled for another planning commission hearing before it goes on to the board. And that one is the Smetana Partnership Special Use Marijuana Store. So that means that 33 dockets have continued on or will continue on to the Board of County Commissioners. 27 of these dockets have already been heard by the board and 27 were approved. And 6 are pending review by the BOCC, meaning that they have hearing dates scheduled in the future. So overall, over the course of these 2 calendar years, the Board of County Commissioners decision differed from the Planning Commission's recommendation 1 time, and that was on SU 19-0009 Boulder Rifle Club. So the Planning Commission recommended denial on this application, and the Board of County Commissioners conditionally approved phase 1 of the project while denying phases 2 and 3. So that's our high-level summary, and please let us know if you have any questions.
Thanks for that.
This is Commissioner Goldfarb. Is it possible to get that graphic sent out to us in an email?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that. It's super, super interesting. Just good to know where things are going.
Commissioner McMillan, thanks so much. This is really interesting to see. And I wonder, can maybe if it'd be possible to like just devote a little bit of time perhaps to the meeting, just to say like, you know, last month the county commissioners had 2 meetings and they took this action, or just to get a quick summary via email.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If that's something that you'd like as part of the monthly staff update segment, I can certainly add that in, no problem. I think that's a great suggestion. Or alternatively, I can update you all via email.
I think email would be fine for me, and then maybe we just hold time if there's something that people want to talk about at the meeting. I don't think we need to have a big discussion about it every time. Just have a summary once a month would be really helpful for me via email.
Sounds great.
Yeah,
We will take you up on that suggestion.
Thanks.
definitely in favor of that. Okay. So are there any other staff updates?
That should do it for the staff updates today. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the agenda items. We have one agenda item scheduled for today's Planning Commission meeting. At this time, I'll take the opportunity to explain the public hearing process. There will be an opportunity to provide public comment remotely on the subject items for which we have specified. We will take public testimony during the public hearing portions for each item. The order of presentation will be to hear from staff first, next to the applicant, and then we'll move to accepting public comment from any individuals who wish to speak. Some people may have signed up in advance and we'll call on you first. If you did not sign up for public comment, you may sign up in the chat. Please direct your comments to the board. The chair will direct any questions that arise during the hearing to the appropriate party. Once we have heard all testimony, the public hearing will be closed. Planning Commission will then discuss the application and vote to take an action. Okay, and since we each have one docket item, we'll go ahead and do the public details at that time. Okay, so staff presentation. So I guess I should say the docket item is docket SU-21-0012. The LCCx-CO vacation rental. And if staff, Sam Walker, if you could take it away.
Absolutely. Thank you, Commissioner. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Sam Walker with the Community Planning and Permitting Department. I was am the reviewing planner for SU 2112, the LCCx-CO vacation rental at 2120 Gross Dam Road. So hopefully everyone can see my screen. And I'll go ahead and move through the presentation.
Yep.
So here is a vicinity map showing the general location of the property where the vacation rental is proposed to be located. This is in the southwest area of the county, very close to Gross Dam and the Gross Dam Reservoir, just on the western border of El Dorado Canyon State Park. Mike Lackey is the property owner and Linda Martin is acting as the agent for the application. She's the local manager that's required as part of the vacation or the short-term rental regulations that were adopted earlier this year. Zoning for the parcel is forestry. It's 1.4 acres in size. It is a legal building lot. There's an existing 4,683 square foot residence where the proposed rental will be located. There are no physical changes to that residence proposed. And their request is a special use review to permit the vacation rental, which is to be rented for more than 60 nights annually to a maximum of 6 guests. I think we've touched on this in every special use vacation rental we've looked at so far, so I'm not going to harp on it too much here, but these are the kind of bullet points of the requirements for vacation rentals in the unincorporated county. You'll note here that they are allowed by special review in the forestry zoning district on parcels less than 5 acres in size, which is the case here. So here's our location map. You can see they're just at the tail end of Gross Dam Road where it turns into a private road. This large looped kind of parcel right here is actually the railroad tracks that abut the property. Here's an aerial photo of the parcel, so you can see that existing residence and the parking area directly to the west of it. You can also see Gross Dam Road, which is a dirt road in this area. It actually crosses the property to the north and then crosses the railroad tracks. They access the property via a private driveway. They do have an easement for it that crosses their neighbor's parcel and goes directly onto their property. Now we're looking at a comprehensive plan map. So the only thing that's shown here are the green circles with numbers in them. Those are view protection scores that are associated with view protection corridors that county staff identified throughout the county. So just kind of note that for our criteria review. Here we have a contour map. The property generally slopes downward toward the railroad tracks. And then public land. So as I mentioned earlier, we're just on the western border of the El Dorado Canyon State Park. There's also a county held conservation easement down to the southwest. This is the site plan that was submitted by the applicants. This is just an ILC showing the existing development on the property. There's no new physical development proposed. I'll note that north is to the left in this document as well so that we could fit it into the slide. So we see the existing driveway, the parking area, and then the existing residence where the rental will be located. This is the floor plan that was provided by the applicant showing that there are 3 bedrooms. They also include a note about the sunroom here. This will become important later. It was originally included as part of the submittal as a sleeping room. And there's a couple of conditions related to that we'll talk about. This is the parking plan that was submitted by the applicant. So they were providing or indicating that 4 parking spaces would be provided in the driveway. And now we'll take a look at a couple of site photos. So this is a photo facing almost directly south into the property from Gross Dam Road. They have a little gate and then you can see the concrete drive as well as the parking area kind of off in the background. Now we're standing at the kind of entry to the parking area, I guess, facing north back toward Gross Dam Road. There you can see the northern portion of the parking area. So you can see it's pretty easy to fit 2 vehicles in there as they were proposing. And then the southern portion of the parking area, again, indicating that you can fit another 2 vehicles in there for a total of 4. This is the northern side of the residence. This is a deck that appears to be unpermitted. One of our condition recommendations for a condition of approval is related to getting a permit for that deck. And then this is the south side of the residence. The sunroom is right here. You can't really see through the windows, but it has been decommissioned as a sleeping room. Most of our referral responses were relatively standard. I'll note that our building safety and inspection services team found what appeared to be some unpermitted work in the existing residence. There was some finishing done to the sunroom that was originally permitted as an unfinished room and has now been finished without permits. And then there was also the deck, which I don't think I included in the PowerPoint. Both of those things require permits. However, none of the work that was done constitutes the addition of floor area that would trigger another planning process like site plan review. So we just want to make sure that we get those inspected for safety prior to the issuance of a vacation rental license. The other referral response that I'll note here came from our access and engineering team. So the original proposal would have required 5 parking spaces. So if you remember, we looked at the floor plan for the structure, there were 3 bedrooms. And then there was the sunroom, which had beds in it at the time that I'm not sure that the application was submitted, but there was evidence that it had been used as a sleeping room in the past. So that would have made their parking requirement 5 parking spaces total, 1 for each sleeping room as outlined in the code, and then 1 for the local manager. So they only showed 4 parking spaces. There wasn't really a spot for a 5th one. However, the applicants have decommissioned the sunroom as a sleeping room. So there are now only 3 rooms, meaning that their total parking requirement is 4, which is met on the property. And a few of our recommended conditions of approval were related to that to ensure that they only have those 3 sleeping rooms and the 4 total parking spaces. I'll also note that the public health department indicated that the septic system on site could only support 6 people, which lines up with their proposed number of rooms. And then we did not, 38 public notices were sent out. We received 2 comments, one from the property owner from the owner of this property, who is my understanding lives either next door to this property or down the street. And then the other one from a nearby neighbor who is also going through a vacation rental application currently. Both were in support. We got no other comments back from the public. And now we'll take a look at a few of the special use criteria and how they were addressed by staff. So criteria 1 requires that the proposed use will comply with the minimum zoning requirements of the zoning district and all other applicable requirements. So as I stated earlier, vacation rentals are allowed in this zoning district on properties less than 5 acres through this process. So they're going through the correct process. They'll be required to maintain a vacation rental license if they're approved for the use. And then we had a recommendation for a condition of approval that they get all of the unpermitted work that was done to the structure permitted and inspected prior to the issuance of their license in order to make sure that they're meeting the building code. I also included standard 2, which talks about the proposed use of a vacation rental being compatible with the surrounding area. So staff noted that the uses on nearby properties consist of both seasonal and year-round dwellings in the area. They have provided adequate parking on site, so there's not really going to be any issues with the compatibility in terms of kind of causing traffic overflow or something like that. And that the use seemed compatible for a vacation rental because of the proximity to public open space or public lands, including El Dorado Canyon State Park, the proximity to the public lands surrounding the Gross Reservoir, as well as OS&P lands. There's quite a few of them a little bit further south of here. The next criteria I included talks about the proposed use being compatible with the county's comprehensive plan. In this case, there were no mapped resources identified on the property, so there's not any environmental resources that we would maybe be negatively impacting, at least not that were identified by the county or seen by staff during the site visit. There is the view protections corridor that I mentioned earlier, if you remember the green circles with the numbers in them. However, staff don't have any concerns about the visual impacts of the use because there's no physical changes proposed for the property. And finally, the proposed vacation rental is addressed under review standards that were found to be compatible with the housing element for the comprehensive plan. There was a referral response that staff got back from the long range planning team. And so I tried to just distill that down into the sentence. And so hopefully that makes some kind of sense. And I believe this is the final criteria that I included, which is number 7, that the use will support the multimodal transportation multimodal transportation system and won't result in significant negative impacts to that transportation system or the creation of traffic hazards. In this case, they have demonstrated legal access. They do have an easement for that driveway that crosses their neighbor's property. They also abut Gross Dam Road on other portions of the property, so they have legal access. They have met their parking requirements as long as they meet the recommendation or the recommended conditions of approval related to the decommissioning of the bunk room or the sunroom, as it's kind of variously referred, decommissioning that room as a sleeping room, which they have done. I did peek in the windows while I was there. And then there were no concerns with the average daily trips that would be generated by the use. Usually 30 ADTs, as we call them, average daily trips, are considered to be kind of the limit of compatible in residential neighborhoods, and the use as proposed, if I remember correctly, would result in 20 average daily trips. So that being said, the recommendation by staff is that the Planning Commission recommend conditional approval to the Board of County Commissioners for this docket SU 2112, the LCCx-CO vacation rental, subject to the conditions that were outlined in the staff recommendation. And I have the full text of those conditions on the next slide if we need to take a look at.
Okay. Thanks, Sam. Does any commissioners have questions for Sam?
Can you just remind me, this is Commissioner Gargano, can you just remind me how we determine max occupancy and number of days?
So in this case, the maximum occupancy is determined by the septic system. So the septic system has capacity for 6 people, including children, at one time. And so that's one of the recommended conditions maxes them out at 6 people per stay, I guess. The days or nights to be rented per year, in this case, they requested just more than 60, which is the language that's used in the land use code to kind of be the trigger point for the vacation rental process, as opposed to a primary or secondary short-term rental. And in this case, we haven't recommended an upper limit on those nights. My understanding, based on conversations with the applicants, is that they don't intend to rent 365 nights a year. It's not practical, but they will likely be in the neighborhood of 180, something like that. But we haven't recommended a cap. We also didn't recommend a cap on a nearby vacation rental that's, I think, like 2 houses down the street.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
This is Commissioner Bloomfield. I feel like we've had this discussion a couple of times, and we don't need to decide it, for this this docket item. But it seems like sometimes we have a max. This time, I think, is the first I've seen that we have a minimum. I'd like to see if we can get something consistent, because it seems like sometimes we don't have anything. And from discussions that we've had in the past, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like there isn't a requirement either way. So it seems like if we could get something consistent, that would be preferable.
Right, and there's been some staff discussions about trying to, I guess, come up with a more consistent basis for establishing or recommending caps on the number of nights to be rented for short-term rentals. I will say we do try to conduct all of our reviews on a site-specific basis, and oftentimes we apply totally different conditions of approval to properties that are next door to each other. That's not uncommon, not necessarily for vacation rentals, but certainly for the other planning applications we do. And I can't be specific to vacation rentals just because we haven't had very many of them. That being said, for this specific property, we only received public comments that were in support of the application. They are in close proximity to a lot of the kind of thing that people use vacation rentals for in Boulder County. So there just weren't really any concerns about neighborhood compatibility with the request for more than 60 nights per year.
Yeah, and I guess I don't have I guess what I would like is some guidelines for why we would do a certain number, why we would cap it, and that sort of thing. Because I feel like now they say, up to 180, and it's like, okay, that sounds good. But we don't have, I don't feel like we have anything that we're really measuring that against. So does anybody else have any questions for Sam?
Yeah, this is Commissioner Shu. You mentioned that the occupancy is driven by the septic system size. So why is the bunk room, sunroom not being used as a sleeping room? Why is that important in view of the cap because of the septic system?
So the bunk room or the sunroom is only important because of the parking requirement. So they would still be capped, even if they had 4 sleeping rooms, they would still be capped to 6 people total staying there. It's just kind of, we would allow them to have the extra sleeping room. So hypothetically 4 people could have their own room or something like that. But they're kind of unrelated. The condition of approval, or the recommendation for a condition that would cap them at 6 total people staying per night, I guess, would still be there even if they could have the sunroom and could provide parking for it. But the elimination of the sunroom as a sleeping room is tied specifically to the parking requirement.
This is Commissioner Bloomfield. In regards to the sunroom, when you say that it was decommissioned as a sleeping room, what constitutes decommissioning?
Essentially, they had beds in it, and then they removed the beds. That's all they had to do.
And as far as the building permit goes, I believe one of the conditions was to have that, because it's an unpermitted sleeping room. Is that now not an issue because it's not a sleeping room anymore?
No, so the condition for the building permit is related to the fact that the sunroom was finished at some point. So when it was originally permitted, it was constructed as an unfinished sleeping room, meaning essentially no utilities to it, no lighting or anything like that, as far as I know. And then it's clear that at some point between the original construction of the sunroom and today, that it was finished with electrical connections or something like that. And so we just want to make sure that those were all installed properly and get those inspected and permitted. But as far as decommissioning it as a sleeping room, all they have to do is remove the beds and not use it as a sleeping room.
Got it. Thank you. Anybody else have any questions for Sam? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to the applicant. Is the applicant present?
Thanks, commissioners.
Yeah, thank you, Sam.
This is Anna Milner, staff. I'm promoting the applicants now, so bear with me one moment.
Okay, I'm not sure who the representative for the applicant is.
We have Mike Lackey and Linda Martin, and the promotion is just taking a moment. Here we
Okay.
go.
That's why I'm not seeing them.
There's a little delay with Zoom with the promotion, but I see Mike's with us. And Linda, I will try you one more time. You'll need to click yes to join as panelist on your screen.
Okay, I see Linda coming on. So I don't know if the applicant has a
Hello,
presentation
Mike
for us.
Lackey. Are you able to hear me, sir?
Yes, Mike, we can read things.
Okay.
Do you have a presentation for us or any comments?
No, sir, I do not have a presentation. I think Mr. Walker prepared a very nice application. I really don't have any further information to add. If I may speak in support of the application at this time, I would offer a couple of items for the commission's consideration.
Yep.
Well, first of all, there is a 2-car garage. And so if there's any issue with parking spaces, there are 2 additional parking spaces in a covered garage that were not considered as part of the application. This was my first time ever doing anything like this, so I did not make those available. But just to assuage any issues, there are 2 covered parking spaces in the garage. And the second thing that I would like to add is that we purchased this house about 1.5 years ago, and it said sunroom, so I just assumed it was kind of like an extra room. I did not know it was unpermitted, but as we would certainly get the necessary permits to comply with the application. So I plead ignorance on the unpermitted areas. Anyway, and then just further in support of the application, we are a family, and we have enjoyed spending months at a time in Colorado, right next to Walker Ranch Park and the state park. And it is our intent to eventually move full-time to Colorado while we are still at such time as we're able to and do retire. But we do have jobs that keep us back and forth between anyway, it's our desire to spend as much time as we possibly can. So it is not meant to be a full-time rental property by any means, but it does help to have somebody in the house to keep the heat on and keep the electricity running and keep the toilets flushed and all that sort of thing, just to keep it in operation. Anyway, I do not have anything to add to the commissioners. I appreciate this opportunity to appear before you, and I will turn the floor over to Linda Martin, who is a resident of Coal Creek Canyon and a friend as well, and has done a wonderful job looking after the property and making sure there's no nuisances or any other such problem. We've had no complaints, or of course we are right by the railroad track, so the railroad doesn't complain. And then we're open to the state park. But we do have some beautiful views, and we're so fortunate that nothing will ever be built in front of us. So that's what we fell in love with the property of. But thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Lackey. And Ms. Martin, am I correct in understanding that you are the sort of the representative
Yes.
for the property, the manager?
Yep. I'm in a property manager role. That's correct. And I just wanted to say super briefly that I have been a resident in Coal Creek Canyon for 24 years. I know this community like the back of my hand. I volunteer next to these neighbors. I ran the child care center for 17 years, so I've raised the babies of the neighbors. It's a nice relationship. I enjoy the area, and I feel like this is a great opportunity for the Lackey family. They've been really terrific.
Great, thank you.
You bet.
Do commissioners have any questions for the applicant? Hearing none. Sam, do you have any comments on what the applicants have said? Sam Walker, that is.
Sure, Sam Walker, CPNP planner. I just wanted to kind of make one small comment. Mr. Lackey mentioned the parking in the garage. That was a question that I asked Linda when I did the site visit. We met on the property, and it seemed like it was maybe just easier to ignore that and require the condition that the sunroom was just not used as a sleeping room, and that therefore wouldn't trigger the parking requirement. So I guess I just wanted to note that we did consider that. It just didn't seem like an issue that really needed to be addressed because we'd already accomplished it with the decommissioning of the sunroom as a sleeping room. So that's it.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any questions for staff? Okay, then we will move into public comment. Okay, so I'll go through the procedures for public comment. The following procedures for public comment, well, they are as follows. All members of the public will have a chance to speak, even if you didn't sign up from the PC homepage beforehand. Once those who signed up in advance have spoken, I will call for any additional members of the public to speak. If you joined by computer, you can sign up by submitting your first name, last name, address, and the docket number in the chat box to the right. As each person who has joined by computer and signed up to speak is unmuted, Zoom will adjust your participant status so that you can speak and be seen via video. Once you are finished speaking, Zoom will place you back in the room as an attendee. If you dialed into the meeting by phone, Please raise your hand by pressing *9 and we will unmute you. And when we call on you to provide your comment, and we will unmute you when we call on you to provide your comment. When it is your turn, the system will request that you unmute yourself with *6. Once you are unmuted, either via computer or phone, if you have called in, please state your name and address for the record before providing comment. Each speaker will be allotted 3 minutes to speak. A timer will beep at the end of your speaking time. Pooled time. Time can be pooled at 3 minutes per person for a maximum of 10 minutes. You will need to provide the names and addresses of the other people, up to 3 others, beside yourself, who are in attendance and donating their time to you. Anyone who is pooling time will need to attend the virtual hearing so that we can verify their presence as we would at an in-person hearing. Please do not submit comments or questions in the chat box during the meeting. The chat box is for speaker sign up only. Please remain on mute when possible. The moderators will mute you if we see that your connection is the source of background noise. Members of the public will be unable to share their screen during public comment. Applicants, please have your presentations pulled up and ready to go. We already went through that. Okay, so I will now open the public hearing. This is a public hearing for docket SU-21-0012, LCCx-CO vacation rental. We'll now hear, oh, sorry, I'm getting this order all wrong, aren't I? Okay, so we'll go ahead with the public comment. So let's see. The first signed up speaker is Edward Yagi. Has he been promoted, Anna, or are you in the process?
I'm working on that right now. Thank you. I'll let you know. And I believe Mr. Yagi's now with us. Thank you.
Hey, Mr. Yagi, you have 3 minutes.
May I say something about my internet connection before my 3 minutes begin?
Okay.
I'm in Allen Park right now. Severe windstorm up here. Power is out. I'm on an emergency generator and my internet is very unstable. My internet from Japan has never been a problem, but here in Boulder County, it's often unusable. Please let me know at the end of my 3 minutes if you were able to hear me or not. If you didn't, I will email you my comments. Are my audio and video okay right now?
Yes, they are. Please proceed.
My name is Edward Yagi, and I am co-owner of 5th Generation property on Big Owl Road in Allen Park. For the record, I strongly support today's application. I do so, however, under extreme protest that today's hearing is taking place at all. The current circumstances undermine public safety and public interest, are wasteful of county resources and taxpayer dollars, and constitute abuse against a tiny subgroup of property owners unjustly targeted as scapegoats for imaginary side effects themselves resulting from 100 years of deliberate policy by the county itself. The county's STR regulations with which you are collaborating were rammed through under unethical and false pretenses, and the way they are being implemented is invasive, humiliating, violates multiple rights, and is objectively dangerous. This description sounds disturbingly like rape, which might in fact be an excellent metaphor. Here's a quote from an actual STR applicant and a woman. During the process, they changed the rules and knew of the plans but did not inform us, costing us hundreds of dollars more. We then had to redo the entire process again with a new licensing rule before being able to use the approval granted by the commissioners. I've spent thousands of dollars trying to meet their requirements, and literally through the process, I was in tears at the county commissioners meeting, end quote.
I think we've lost you.
Yes, we seem to have lost connection. Okay. We seem to.
Chair Bloomfield, this is Rick Hackett staff. We may ask Mr. Yagi to turn off his
Inconsistent.
video if we can get him back on audio at least.
Okay, that's a good idea. Although he seems to have dropped off now. Mr. Yagi, could you turn off your video? That might help your connection.
And I've paused his time. He still has a minute
Can you-
43 remaining.
Thanks, Rick. Did you hear that, Mr. Yagi?
But can you say that again, please?
We paused your time when your internet connection dropped off, so you still have a minute and 30 seconds or something.
Okay, can you tell me where I was cut off?
You mentioned a woman who had to spend thousands of dollars after some changes.
Did you hear her entire comment?
We heard part of it at least.
Okay, I will pick up again from the beginning of the quote. This is a quote from an applicant. During the process, they changed the rules and knew of the plans, but did not inform us, costing us hundreds of dollars more. We then had to redo the entire process again with the new licensing rules before being able to use the approval granted by the commissioners. I've spent thousands of dollars trying to meet their requirements and was literally so torn down through the process, I was in tears at the county commissioners meeting, end quote. We have an elephant in the room and here it is. Your STR rules are cruel, unethical, arbitrary, inconsistent, prohibitively expensive, unnecessary, unenforceable, unadministrable, dangerous, and wildly counterproductive. How long will you let this go on before you protest? Whatever you do, please don't play the "that's not my job" card. Speaking as someone who performed not one, but 2 full careers in public service, addressing fraud, waste, abuse, and mismanagement in government is not just everyone's job, it's everyone's responsibility. The just following orders excuse is cowardly, irresponsible, and got tossed out the window at Nuremberg. So speaking as a very alarmed citizen and Boulder County taxpayer, I am not asking, I am demanding that all of you do what you can to blow the whistle on the folly that the current STR rules represent. Anyone who turns a blind eye is as complicit as those directly responsible. Every day that goes by is a lost opportunity as Boulder County further antagonizes, alienates, and infuriates the citizens, taxpayers, homeowners, and businesses whose cooperation you need for a fair policy, which I and every other local stakeholder will support. The commissioners seem to ignore public comment, but they might listen to you, especially if you say enough, or better yet, threaten to resign. Please take your public duty seriously and do something. Not tomorrow, today. Thank you for your attention. This concludes my remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Yagi. Just a comment that Planning Commission is interested in comments specifically related to the subject docket and not the regulations themselves, since the regulations are not under review today. Okay, we have one other person signed up for public comment. I believe that's Ilona Dotterer. I hope I got that name right.
Hi.
Hi, Ms. Dotterer.
Yes, you did pronounce it right. Thank you so much. I am in full support of the application.
State your address for the record.
I'm sorry, 2705 Regis Drive, Boulder.
Thank you.
I also have property in Allens Park. I'm going to do this video thing. I fully support. Sorry about that. It's windy up here. I fully support, Linda, this application. I think, and I especially would commend staff on the presentation and the conditions, which I thought were quite reasonable compared to some of the conditions that other vacation rentals have been under. I think Sam did a really good job. He was clear. He explained things. I do have a few comments about the the view corridor requirements. I mean, that's a new one on me, and that's not anything that I know exists in the STR regulations. And then this neighborhood compatibility. I don't know what that means. And here, there's no problems with neighborhood compatibility because the surrounding area has both seasonal and part-time residents. Staff has played a little fast and loose with that neighborhood compatibility, especially up in the mountains. So I'm happy that, that that staff was pretty fair in this situation because obviously there's a railroad in front of the property and it's surrounded by forest. So I really appreciate staff not trying to shoehorn this into the commissioners, Board of County Commissioners requests that a limit be placed on every single vacation rental. Yeah. And I had, wait, one more comment I had, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, the view corridor thing. And then I was unaware of this, the housing element from the long range planning team. And I know you want just comments about this particular property, but it seems like with the view corridor issues and now this long range planning team, it seems like more and more is getting shoved onto these reviews of vacation rentals. So I would ask staff to, talk to us about it, the applicants and why they're being implemented. And I just have one more comment. I was really involved in the implementation of the short-term rentals, and we came before the Planning Commission, and you all had 6, if I recall correctly, really good recommendations to the county commissioners, which were ignored completely. They were just kind of brushed aside. So I really appreciate your conscientious review, and hopefully the regulations are going to be reviewed in January, I understand. So hopefully some of your really good suggestions will get implemented then. And one more thing, I really like the presentation about what you recommend to the Board of County Commissioners and how many times it's been approved, because I was going to do a Coro request for that very thing, and now I don't have to. So I know I went way off track, but I totally support Linda and the property. Thank you.
Thank you. Does staff have any? Oh, actually, before we do that, sorry. I don't see anyone else signed up. Anna, do we have anyone by phone?
Madam Milner, staff, we have no other individuals signed up in chat, but I do see one phone call in listener. Hello, I see your hand raised there. So you'll need, I'm going to ask you to unmute. You'll need to press *6 to actually speak. The person dialed in from 720-635-2333, so bear with me. You should be able to press *6 to unmute yourself and speak when you're ready.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can.
Hi, my name is Roxanne DeSanto, and I'm at 1975 Caribou Road in Netherlands. And I have a couple of questions for Sam or for the whole board in regards to this application. And first, I support this application 100%. And I'm also I'm applying for a special use review, and I have an application in for my property as a vacation rental as well. And my question, Sam, or with this bedroom, the sunroom, in that sunroom, if it's decommissioned, are they allowed to have someone? So if they have 6 guests and they're not all couples, let's say it's a family of 6, and everyone wants their own room, are they allowed to have someone sleep in that sunroom?
So this is time for comment. We don't have questions directly to staff during this time.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood. Is there a time for
just
comment?
That's something that you can potentially bring up with the staff member that you're working with on your application.
Okay, well, it just happens to be Sam as well, so that's easy enough.
Okay. So do you have any further comment on this?
Yeah, just quickly. So there's no form right now to ask a question directly to your staff? Okay, sorry about that.
It's okay.
So I'm done. Thank you.
You're done. Okay, thanks for your comments. Okay, do we have any other members dialing in on the phone or commenters?
I see no further commenters in chat or on the phone. Thank you.
Okay, and then we'll go ahead and close the public hearing, or the, public comment period, I should say. Sam, do you have any responses to anything that's been said so far?
Sure. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I think can probably answer part of Ms. DeSanto's question just by looking at the recommendation or the recommended conditions of approval. While I'm pulling that up, I do want to note that we are here to review the specific use that's been proposed by the applicants on this specific property, and not the larger vacation rental regulations or short-term rental regulations, or how they were adopted, or kind of any of that. So this slide, can you see that? Sorry.
Yes.
This slide is the full text of all of the recommended conditions of approval that were in the staff recommendation. I'll point to standard or recommendation number 3, which is that the vacation rental contains only 3 sleeping rooms as identified on the submitted floor plans. Use of the bunk room or sunroom as a sleeping room is not approved. So I think that's pretty explicit. They could not use it as a sleeping room. I don't know that we have a realistic way to prevent people from sleeping in the living room if there's 4 people staying and they all want to have their own rooms. But the use of that room is specifically disallowed as a sleeping room, as recommended by staff. I also took a couple notes based on the other comments that we received. So I guess I can just touch a little bit more on the view protection corridor and what that means. So the view protection corridor, if you remember, actually, I guess I could just go back to that map since we have it up. But so several years ago, the county did a study where we essentially identified corridors, roadways within the county that we thought should have had important visual character for the county. And then as part of the study, we assigned a view protection score to areas of those roads. The intention being that that score would be used as a tool for the staff review. So the scores can range from 0 to 6. The higher that number is, the kind of more important it is from a staff perspective to protect the view from the road in that section. So in this case, it's mainly a tool. It's not really a way to disallow something, but it is kind of a way for us to look at a proposal, a development or something like that, and try to determine whether or not we need to pay special attention to the nearby roadways. In this case, we mentioned it was mentioned in the staff recommendation because there is a view protection score associated with Gross Dam Road directly next to and kind of across the subject property, but they're not proposing any physical development to the property. They're just proposing a use, and the property will remain physically unchanged. So there's no change to the visual character of the area, so it wasn't otherwise addressed by staff. The other question was kind of very generally about neighborhood compatibility. We try to, again, like I said earlier, do all of our reviews on a site-specific basis. We try to make sure that a proposed use is compatible with the neighborhood. And the way that we've been approaching that internally is that the proposal for a vacation rental is a lodging use. It's not really a residential use at that point. It's just almost like sticking a very small hotel in the middle of a neighborhood. And so that's how we're approaching it, is making sure that that use as a lodging use rather than a residential use is compatible with the existing neighborhood in the area. So that's where some of the limitations have come from on other applications for vacation rentals. Staff didn't feel that it was quite as necessary in this specific case, again, because of the proximity to the public lands that are often a draw for vacation rental or vacation renters, I should say, within the county. And so that's why we didn't apply an upper limit in this case specifically. And then the housing element was mentioned in the staff recommendation as part of that's kind of where we got our short-term rental regulations, was by reviewing the housing element, making sure that if we approved any vacation rentals, short-term rentals, either primary or secondary, that they would still be able to meet the goals, objectives, and policies outlined in the comprehensive plan. I'm not as familiar with the housing element as I am with the zoning code, so I can't speak too much to it, but it is definitely something that we review and that we ask our long-range planning team to review as part of the referral for this application. I think that speaks to all of the stuff that I heard from public comments. I can answer any questions that the commissioners might have.
This is Commissioner Gargano. someone made a comment that potentially the Board of County Commissioners is going to be reviewing these regulations in January. Do we know if that's coming up, or?
Yes. So
Just for those who came to this hearing thinking that we would talk about that, but we're not, they might want to know when that is, or.
Yeah, so I don't know the exact time frame off the top of my head, but when the updated short-term rental regulations were adopted in February of this year, part of that adoption was there was a requirement that we would come back and review them in 1 year from the date that they were adopted, to update them, see if they were doing what they were intended to do, see if the vacation rentals were working, just kind of, I guess, I'm blanking on the word, but yes, we are re-reviewing those regulations in the next month or so.
Okay, thank you, Sam. Any other questions for staff? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing portion and go into discussion.
Commissioner Bloomfield, this is Eric Rogers, Assistant County Attorney. Could you give the applicant a chance to address the remarks as well, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. Does the applicant have any response to any of the public comment or staff comment?
I'm good.
Yes, this is Mike Lackey. I'm good as well. Thank you. And I do want to give kudos and thanks to the planners that I worked with. They've been very helpful and very fair, and it's been a good experience for us. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Lackey. Okay, with that, we will now close the public hearing portion and move into discussion for real this time. Anybody have any thoughts?
This is Commissioner Gargano. I think the big questions I had were just about the the number of nights and the max capacity, and it made sense to me, right? Like, septic systems are a big deal up in the mountains, so it makes sense that we would be careful about managing that. And so yeah, so those all make sense to me, and I think it looks good.
Any other comments or perhaps a motion?
It's Commissioner McMillan. I can make a motion. I'm ready to. But I will echo Commissioner Bloomfield, your comments about the 60 days and sometimes having restriction and other times not. I've brought that comment up before, and it would be nice to hear, I think, just the plan moving forward for the various types of applications that come in, so that we know how to be consistent and fair. But other than that comment, I see no reason not to approve the application, and I'm ready to make a motion unless anyone else has comments that they'd like to make. Okay, I will find the language here. I move that the Planning Commission recommend the Board of County Commissioners conditionally approve docket SU 21-0012 LCCx-CO vacation rental with the 9 conditions of approval in the staff report.
This is Commissioner Gargano. I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to a roll call vote. Mark Bloomfield, aye. Sam Fitch.
Aye.
Ann Goldfarb.
Aye.
Gavin McMillan.
Aye.
David Shu.
Aye.
Todd Quigley.
Aye.
Melanie Neski.
Aye.
And Lishan Gargano.
Aye.
Okay. That's passes unanimously. So thank you to Sam. Thank you to the applicant. And that's our only docket item. Does staff have any other comments?
I think that's it.
Okay. Then do we have a motion to adjourn?
This is Commissioner Gargano. I'll move that we adjourn.
Second.
Everybody in favor, say aye.
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 All right, thanks, everybody. The meeting is now adjourned.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays,
Yep.
everybody.
Yeah.
See
Thank
you
you,
next year.
commissioners. I
Everyone.
appreciate your consideration.
Take care.